Hello again, another episode to Tech Talk. And today I have my guest and the studio owner here, Wayne.
What's up?
Thank you.
It's so weird, first of all, to be sitting on this side. And what's really cool is, like always, I'm talking to somebody who's smarter than me, so hopefully I'll learn something today.
Thank you.
This is your forte, and we all are in this high-tech world. And I guess we were just talking before we got on the air, you're going to talk about internet security?
Yes, definitely security. And so thank you for being here. We already had one show a couple weeks ago where we talked about internet security. I had my officer here that works with that, Cameron. He's busy today on the bench. He couldn't make it, but thanks for filling in. Thank you very much.
Look, if I have a chance to learn something, especially something that I need, I'm there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we're going to talk about security online, how to stay safe online. And that's quite a heavy topic. In our business, we're an IT company that's been around for almost 30 years now, and we always see it, sadly, that security is left behind. When it comes to budget in companies, many times it's about having the computers and the software running, but then the actual security, the budget on that is not really that thoughtful. So that's very important.
People think it can't happen to me.
Exactly. And then once it happens, that's a big wake-up call. So, and I'm wearing a jacket today because it's a serious topic. Because,
Look, you came from the chamber, you got your new member sticking
exactly.
on it.
But I'm getting warm now because this is a hot topic here, so take the jacket off.
And, it's interesting because we have been in the tech industry for a long time.
Yes, you have.
In what we do, and you are a go-to when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I watch the shows that you do, and I'm kind of blessed in the fact that Cameron didn't show, because now I can listen to what you have to say and then ask you the questions that I want to know without having to pay a consultation fee.
I won't charge you anyway. But anyway, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. We just this week there was one of the people that we watch online. They have a very famous YouTube channel, and they got hacked. And in the middle of the night, they had to basically jump out of bed and get their YouTube channel back. And this is one of these companies that basically they have many million followers, and the business is running on YouTube and on social media. And you have to imagine if your main source of revenue and everything else comes under scrutiny like that, and somebody takes over without you knowing, that's a bit of a panic.
Can it be? Can you protect something like that?
Yeah, but you see, even when it comes to very experienced YouTubers and channels like that, there's always sometimes a way that something can sneak in, and many times it's because some human interaction. For example, you can be as safe as you can think. You can sign up for every security software you can think of, but if you have a large organization and you have, let's say, 20, 30 employees, you can't watch every one of them. So if that employee, for example, gets an email attachment, which is still the old way, that's been around since 20 years, 25 years now, that you might get an email attachment that says it's a PDF, it's a doc, any kind of file, and you click on it and it's not what it's supposed to do. It's actually a virus. That happens all the time.
It's unbelievable what people can do. And I always say, if they would spend their time doing something legit, they'd make a ton of money.
Yeah, they would. They're actually very, very smart.
I don't really get that. But, I mean, that is what that is. So, I mean, what's the best and safest practices when it comes to internet security?
Well, the safest thing really is it's called zero trust. That's a big name now in the industry, zero trust. So you don't trust anything that comes across your desk when it comes to the internet. Whether it's outside connections, whether it's emails. So you're trying to lock down everything. You don't have any open ports. You don't have anything coming from the outside. You're very secure. But you train your employees. That's one thing I always tell all my customers, and we actually go to businesses and we talk about this stuff. So you need to sit down, and we do it for free. We come there and we talk to the whole audience there and say, hey, this is what you need to do to protect yourself, because you cannot watch your employees all day long and not like they're doing this on purpose because they're not experienced. They weren't told not to do these things.
Right.
So, it's very simple to double click on something, and I get these files too. I get at least 3-4 emails a day that have something in them, some virus in them, because we also target for that. And you see it, and it says, you have an invoice coming in to be paid as something from your fax machine, and it's some PDF, blah blah blah. And technically, anything that you can double click on as a file, it might not open, and then you move on to the rest of the day.
Right, you don't think about it.
And then something else is happening in the background, overnight, on your computer that's running.
Wow.
And that's what's happening here.
For me, like I'll get an email, and before I do anything, what I'll do is I'll click reply
Mm-hmm.
just to see where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously they have a way to make it look like it came from someone reliable.
Right.
So when you click on reply and the email comes up, their email address, it's like A6248.
Some gobbledygook, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's what I do because I think it's part of a safety precaution for me. I don't know if it works, but I don't open anything.
That's very good right there. That's how you protect yourself. And also when it comes to software, like best practices, we know many companies rely even now on free virus protection. So when it comes to free, you get what you pay for. Do not rely entirely on free software. It's not as good as the paid for product. So if you're running a business especially, you should be paying for updated virus protection, and you should have a commercial virus protection. There's a difference between, buying even a consumer computer, a regular computer, and a commercial computer. It's different quality. It's the same as software. You have different levels. So, for example, the software we're using allows us to monitor all these computers. So if something gets hacked in the middle of the night, we get an alarm, or our security center in California that we work with, they get an alarm and shut this machine down if something happens. And the amazing thing also that if you have something like an email attachment that comes in and you say, oh, I don't really trust this thing, normally you should just delete it. But with advanced virus protection software, you can run this program or this attachment inside a sandbox. And let me explain what that is. So
Yes,
this
I don't know.
there's all these silly names out there like cloud computing, just
Okay,
crazy name.
sandbox. What's
Sandbox.
sandbox?
What it means is that you're basically executing a file or program inside a protected environment, or they call it a walled garden too. Basically, it's a protected section inside memory that this memory cannot touch the rest of the computer.
Oh.
So you basically, it's like almost letting off a bomb. Okay, you can explode something inside that room; it doesn't affect the other room. So that's how that works. In the free software, you can't do that. And the
I
paid
never
for
heard of
software-
it. I've had free software forever.
Right. So because we actually have customers of ours that, email us and say, hey, I got this file, and they forward it to us and say, hey, is this legit? Can you see it? And that's what we do. We basically run this inside a virtual machine or a sandbox, and then we can see if this is real or not. And many times it's malicious. So that's a really good thing right there to have.
That is a very good thing because
Yeah.
if you open one up, and this is what I learned, and I really know very little. Getting rid of a virus is a pain because it sneaks in and hides
Right.
under things that you would. It's almost. It's very tough to find where the virus ended up.
Right.
I think.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, and the viruses have changed. When I started with computers back in the 80s, I worked on CPM machines before DOS came out.
Okay.
And we had these viruses that basically were very simple. We had some silly viruses that just, there was an ambulance running across the screen and killing your Word document. But also some nasty ones that really kept your machine from booting. And they were more focused. Back then, viruses were focused on destroying the machine's operating system or making it inoperable, basically being an annoyance. Now that shifted towards being malicious, as in stealing your data. That's what they're after. Or encrypting your data. Let's say you have a ransomware virus that comes in, and it starts encrypting your hard drive at night. And in the morning, it gives a message saying, hey, please pay us so many bitcoins to unlock your data. And that's been going around for many, many years now. So that's what they're really after is money.
Are there some, because I've seen that on my computer.
Hmm.
And then I shut down the computer, I rebooted, and it was gone.
Yep, that's good.
Okay? I guess those are the simple versions of that malicious.
Yeah, this is basically
Ransomware?
you getting like a pop-up, basically saying you just get a window on the screen
Right.
that has really no other function just to scare you or to make you as a user click on something and then interact with it. Because many times they tell you it's yourself doing it to you're doing it to yourself. You damage because you're doing something on the screen. They can't just remote in and take over your machine. You are letting them in.
Okay.
And then
Now I understand.
No, because if you reboot, many times that's just in the browser cache. It just gets removed on the next reboot. But still, if you see something like that, I always tell my customers, if you see anything on the screen, like pop-ups coming up, okay, just reboot your machine, like I said. If you see something happening that's malicious on the screen, and you want to stop it, and you're panicking, guess what? There's always the power plug. You just unplug the computer. That's it. If there's no power in the computer, nothing's happening anymore. Okay, you're completely in control of what's going on that machine.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
You know, look, if you're at home and you're playing solitaire or stupid stuff, it's not as a concern as when you're running a business.
No.
Okay, you know, we are here in the studio and it's high tech, and if something happens, it becomes a nightmare.
Right.
You know, and you know, just getting off the security end for a second, what about when we live in the hurricane capital of the world and lightning capital of the world? I'm always nervous when there's a big lightning storm.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should be.
What do I do? Because our computers run 24/7.
Right.
We have, look, Edgar is high tech, and we have some high tech stuff, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
really have no clue. And I trust that our stuff is okay. But when I know there's a storm coming and it's a weekend, I tell them to unplug everything.
Unplug everything.
Yeah, it can't hurt.
No, it actually can't hurt. It's more of a nuisance.
Right.
But also many companies, by the way, Edgar is doing an amazing job. I like to say that to him on air. Always, we come to the studio here and
All right.
he puts it together.
Don't make him too. Don't make him feel too important.
But
You can't
anyway,
make him feel too important.
when it comes to power, and that's a very good topic right there. You know, lightning comes here all the time.
Right.
When I started with computers, we had the dial-up modems. You know, we had the sound,
Right.
AOL. Welcome to AOL. And back then, we already had a retail store, and it was so funny sometimes because we would sometimes here at night we'd hear the lightning, and the lightning strikes, and next morning we would have like 20, 30 people outside waiting in the front of the door with their computers under their hand, and they say, "Well, we have no dial tone; it doesn't dial anymore." Well, I says, "You must have used your computer last night." So because
And that's to me, it might not be internet security, but it's still internet safety or computer safety.
yeah, it is.
Okay, that falls in the same. I mean, these are things that we worry about.
Hmm.
Okay, when cloud technology came about, I bought a Western Digital 4T private cloud.
Right. Hmm.
Okay, because I said, who's going to want to break into my cloud? Okay, I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Right.
And then, every 4T today gets filled really fast
Yeah.
when you do video, especially.
You do. Oh, especially 4K video. Yes.
Right.
Right.
I mean, going back to internet security as compared to a personal security software as compared to a commercial, I mean, what companies for small business, I mean, what companies should they look at? My personal opinion is always use a professional. So my personal
Yeah.
opinion would be to call you guys
Yeah.
and have you guys come and set up the thing. But not everybody is going to want to do that because everybody thinks they're invincible,
Yeah.
and it's not going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And
Sadly.
it's like medical insurance. Okay, it's the only gamble we hope we lose.
That's a different topic right there altogether, isn't
Right,
it?
but it's a gamble that we pay and gamble on, but we hope we lose.
Right.
Life insurance especially. But for the base person, are the free security programs have any value at all?
I mean, well, let's get back to one of the lightning things first. I was going to go on that one topic.
Okay.
When it comes to lightning strikes in Florida, what I recommend, and my company's been recommending all the time, just like you said, if you have a computer and you're not using it for a while and you're on vacation, unplug it from the wall. Now, if you're running a business, you can't do that. You can't unplug your server; it needs to run all the time. But you need to have a battery backup. So, like a UPS is basically a battery with a switch protector inside. And the better ones, the more expensive they get, the better they are. The faster response time, the longer they last.
I remember
You
you
know.
told me this is what the check's going to be for these,
Right?
more than the computers.
I mean, we're running a rack, one of the big racks at ACT, and we have 4 big APCs in there, and they're probably about $5,000 each,
Wow.
because they can run for a whole day.
Oh, well.
Oh yeah, but they're basically big batteries. That's what they are. But there's nothing that will completely help you in case you get a lightning strike. If a strong one comes, it will go through that. So you have multiple ways of blocking that. So you also put a filter, which is very important. We actually sell filters that not many people know about for the internet. So for the internet line, because that's where it comes into from the outside.
Huh.
You put a filter on there, that filter gets blown up in case you get a lightning strike, and it doesn't travel all the way through your modem and into the rest of your network.
Wow.
So very important there.
It's interesting the things that you don't know and you think you know because your brother's cousin's uncle told you,
Yeah.
hey, you could go on and it's free, get this software
Right.
for that, or hey, they have battery backup, it's $89. And that was my thought until Edgar, who knows more than I,
Right.
said, you know, that's okay, but we need something that's going to send us a text message, shut down the computer after it goes for a period of time.
Right.
I didn't know any of these things.
It's amazing how technology has progressed. And just a little tech tip here for everybody. When you do buy a battery backup, for example, it comes with a cable in the box. And I see this many, many times on service calls that this cable gets thrown away in the garbage. And that cable is a USB cable many times. And that cable plugs in from the battery backup into your computer. Now that tells your computer what's going on in the battery. And your computer can shut down what's called gracefully. So it's not like you're running out of power. So in Florida we lose power quite often. And so after 10 minutes the battery is exhausted. It just basically pulls the plug.
Right.
And that can damage your operating system. That can corrupt your hard drive.
Right.
So that cable tells the machine to shut down when there's only minimum left inside that battery backup. So it's very important to do. Plug that cable in. We see it all the time.
I mean, again, these are things that I have zero clue, and I'm blessed to have Edgar, you know, on top of most of that stuff. Does the cheap battery backups don't have that, or do they?
Most of them actually do nowadays.
Oh, do they?
I recommend a brand called APC. They've been around for forever.
I heard of them.
APC, they make very good battery backups, commercial and little ones. They start about $90 for a good one. Don't go too cheap and some unknown brands because, you know, that's your power. That's very important for your computer to come in.
Right.
And to answer your question about the software earlier, sorry, I jumped over that one. When it comes to free software, I mean, yes, nowadays Windows 11 comes with what's called Windows Defender, which is built-in virus protection for Windows. But it's a basic one. It's free. It comes with it. It's so-so, but don't completely rely on that. You know, buy something else on top of that. I mean, there's Norton out there. Norton is still good.
That one's been around forever.
That's been around forever. I'm not a big fan anymore of Norton, I have to say, because they added so much baloney, bloatware to the software. It's not just the virus protection anymore, and it does a lot of things in the background, slowing your machine down sometimes. So Avast is good. Avast Business, that's what we use quite a bit.
I think my wife just bought a Avast. I was never a Norton fan, probably because it always came with the computer.
Right.
And I don't like someone telling me what I have to have.
The trial, the famous trial.
Right.
Right.
And then, you know, then you got to get rid of it. And I know we're going to run out of time, but I have to ask you this question.
Sure.
Okay. So, for me, on my computer, you have programs, and they always say update, updates come through. How important are doing those updates?
Very important. So what Wayne is talking about is Windows updates. So Windows updates keep your machine up to date. Okay, that's basically nothing's ever, perfect in life, and just like computers, and they're always improving things on their end. So these updates make your machine run better most of the time. Some updates aren't good.
That's why I have an issue with.
Sometimes you get an update and the machine doesn't boot anymore. You have that before. But in general, most updates are fine. But you need to run them. They've kind of automated this quite a bit on Windows 11, on Windows 10, where it's not as intrusive anymore.
So my Windows 7 doesn't do this?
It does, but you're still running 7 where you got to.
I just want you to know that
Yeah.
my desktop in my house, which I use here and there,
Yeah,
is still on Windows 7.
not XP, right?
No,
Good.
Windows 7. Now XP just and the thing about Windows 7 is, I like Windows 7.
Yeah.
It runs, does everything I need it to do for that computer.
Right, right.
So I didn't ever change it.
No, you don't have to. But in general, I mean, antivirus software, Norton is good. The one built in Windows is okay. But get something like better, like Avast Business and something like that. That really makes a big impact.
There's another one I use, IOBits.
IOBits, yeah.
I've been using that for a while too.
Actually, we talked about it. We just mentioned, I know we're running out of time, but we just mentioned Windows XP. Why said about it? Windows XP was one of the most successful operating systems ever.
Really?
It really was.
Oh.
And
Better than Vista, huh?
Oh, Vista's horrible. Windows 8 was horrible. Nobody could use Windows 8, including myself. I couldn't figure it out. But, inside our guys here and with our customers, we always see so many people saying, oh, things change all the time. When these things move around, operating system. And we always tell them, just imagine. Everything's kind of the way it's supposed to be. It's like buying a new car, okay? Your steering wheel is still going to be on the left side, hopefully, and your pedals are down there.
Right.
It just looks a little different, okay? The buttons are somewhere else. That's how the new operating system is.
Right.
And funny is, we actually sent an email off to Microsoft about 4 or 5 years ago when Windows 8 came about, and I said, you know what? You had such a hit with Windows XP. Everybody's asking for Windows 8 and Windows 10 to look like that, to have the old start menu and everything else. So
Right.
it's easy to navigate. It makes sense.
That's why I have Windows 7.
Exactly. So we actually proposed to them, hey, why don't you bring out a Windows operating system called XP Gold? Just call it XP Gold, the final version of Windows that runs everything. And don't use the name Windows 10, Windows 11, because that doesn't sound that exciting, does it? So, but no answer.
Oh, yeah.
So Microsoft, if you're listening, we have an idea
Because
for you.
They don't care. Now we're at Windows 11.
Yeah.
Windows 12 coming out in the near future.
Yes, it is. Funny thing, they said, oh, Windows 10, that's it, last Windows version ever. After that, all the updates will be internally, but we'll still call it Windows 10. Well, that changed. Now
Yeah.
we have 11.
They say they're not, like I said, I have Windows 7 on that one computer,
Right.
and they say they're not supporting it anymore.
Right.
They won't be supporting it anymore.
Right.
But I'm just so used to that computer.
Right.
It's second nature to me. I like the start menu. I like the way that works because I'm older than dirt and I want to use what I'm used to. The other when the other ones came out, it was like, this is too much. I have to learn something totally new. And probably one of the reasons I use a PC and not a Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because that's a whole nother learning curve.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
And you have to start thinking backwards from what you used to. You used to think everything's on the left side, now everything's on the right side.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always learning curve for everything. The first time I worked with a Mac, that was a Macintosh 2S or something in high school.
Okay.
And I sat in that machine, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I had one mouse button. I was like, where's the second mouse button? Where are you hiding it?
Right.
I need it.
Yeah, I was looking at it, shut down the window, and it's like, no, it's over on that side, not on that side.
Yeah.
So weird.
Does make sense. But anyway, that's it for our show today. I thank you again, Wayne, for
All right, how do people contact you?
being here.
What's the website and stuff?
It's ACT Computers, www.actcomp.us. And we're also on Facebook. Just look for ACT Computers, YouTube, same thing, and we'll be broadcasting this wherever we can. And thank you
Perfect.
so much.
No, thank you for the information.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.